Welcome. You're tuned into Tangled Threads. If you're digging our content, hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you. Our story, mine and Brandy's, was something out of a fairy tale. We met in college, fell deeply in love, and promised each other a lifetime of happiness. That dream was further fulfilled with the birth of our son, Lucas, a brilliant kid with a curiosity for science that knew no bounds. Our life was perfect, or so I thought, until the day everything came crashing down. Lucas's growing interest in science led us to hire a tutor, Mr. Richards. He was a charismatic young man, brimming with knowledge and enthusiasm. Lucas was fond of him, and so, it seemed, was Brandy. Gradually, I noticed a shift. Brandy, who once shared everything with me, became distant. The tutoring sessions, initially concise, started stretching longer. I tried to shake off the unease creeping into my mind, but then Lucas mentioned something that set off alarm bells. He said he often waited in the car after his lessons, while Brandy stayed inside with Mr. Richards. I couldn't ignore it any longer. I needed to know the truth, but had to keep Lucas out of it. I planned a dinner, just Lucas and me, under the guise of giving Brandy some space. But that was a cover for my real plan. I left Lucas with a sitter, ensuring he was safe and oblivious to what I was about to do. Then, I drove to Mr. Richards' house to confront them. The moment I pulled into Mr. Richards' driveway, my heart was pounding in my chest, a mix of dread and anger. I steeled myself, took a deep breath, and got out of the car. The house was modest, the curtains drawn. I walked up to the door and rang the bell, my hand shaking slightly. The door opened, and there stood Mr. Richards, his face a mask of surprise. "Jackson, what are you doing here?" Before he could say more, I pushed past him into the living room. There, I saw Brandy, her face flushed with shock. "Jackson," she stammered. "How did you—" "I think you know why I'm here, Brandy," I said, my voice cold and steady. "I want to know what's going on between you two." The room was thick with tension. Mr. Richards tried to intervene. "Jackson, I think there's been a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding?" I interrupted, my voice rising. "Lucas told me he waits in the car after every session. What exactly is he waiting for, huh?" Brandy's eyes were brimming with tears. "Jackson, I'm so sorry," she whispered. I turned to Mr. Richards. "Call your boss. Now. I want you to tell them everything." Mr. Richards hesitated, but the resolve in my eyes must have told him I wasn't bluffing. He pulled out his phone with trembling hands and dialed. The conversation was terse. "Hello? This is Michael Richards. I need to speak with the director. It's urgent." He paused, listening. I've been involved with a client's spouse. It's unprofessional, and I understand the consequences." I watched as his face fell, hearing the response. "Yes, I understand. I'll clear out my office tomorrow." He ended the call, his career with it. I turned to Brandy. "We'll discuss this at home. I'm taking Lucas to my place tonight. We'll sort out the details later." My voice was calm, but inside, I was a tempest of emotions. The drive back was a blur. I had confronted the truth, but the reality of my shattered marriage was just beginning to sink in. I picked up Lucas, trying to keep a brave face. I explained to him that his mom and I needed to talk, and that things might change. That night, after an emotionally charged confrontation with Brandy, we decided to divorce. She went to stay with her parents, and I was left to pick up the pieces of our shattered life. In the following weeks, as I navigated through the pain and the legalities of divorce, an idea began to form. Lucas still needed guidance, not just in science, but in life. I was always decent at science, but now I decided to embrace it fully. I could become the tutor, the mentor Lucas needed. I threw myself into studying, relearning everything I could about science. Our home slowly transformed into a classroom. Books, experiment kits, and science paraphernalia filled the rooms. It was more than just education. It was a bridge to reconnect with my son. At first, Lucas was hesitant, but as we dove into experiments and discussions about the universe, I saw the light return to his eyes. We were not just father and son anymore. We were a team, exploring the wonders of science together. Word of our little homeschool setup spread, and soon, I found myself tutoring some of Lucas's friends. It was unexpected but fulfilling. I wasn't just a heartbroken husband anymore. I was a teacher, a mentor, and most importantly, a father rebuilding his bond with his son. It wasn't easy. There were nights I lay awake, haunted by the memories of my failed marriage, the trust broken beyond repair. But then I'd see Lucas, full of life and curiosity, and I'd remember why I was doing this. He was my reason to keep going, to turn our pain into something meaningful. Becoming a tutor did more than just fill my days. It healed me in ways I never thought possible. It taught me about resilience, about finding hope in the darkest of times, and about the unbreakable bond between a father and his son. In our little classroom, among the test tubes and science books, I found a new purpose and a new dream, one where the pain of the past gave way to the hope of a new beginning. Update. Weeks after the confrontation, our divorce proceedings began. The atmosphere was heavy, each meeting with the lawyers like a silent battle. Brandy and I hardly spoke, our conversations limited to terse exchanges about Lucas and the divorce logistics. The day of the divorce hearing was a mix of anxiety and grim resolution. As I sat in the sterile courtroom, my mind raced with possible outcomes. Brandy sat across the room, her face a mask of composure. The air was thick with unspoken words and shared history crumbling under the weight of betrayal. Judge Thompson, a stern man with a reputation for fairness, presided over the hearing. "We are here to discuss the terms of the divorce between Jackson and Brandy," he began, his voice echoing in the quiet room. The lawyers presented their cases, outlining financial assets, property, and the critical issue of alimony. Brandy's lawyer argued for substantial alimony, citing her years as a supportive wife and mother. As the discussion turned towards Lucas's custody and well-being, something unexpected happened. Lucas, who had been sitting quietly, his face a mix of nervousness and determination, raised his hand. The judge paused and looked at him. "Yes, young man?" Lucas stood up. His voice was steady, but I could see his hands shaking. "Your Honor, I'd like to say something about my mom and the tutor, and about my dad." There was a hushed silence. Judge Thompson nodded. "Please, go ahead." Lucas took a deep breath. "My mom and the tutor, Mr. Richards, they had something going on. I used to wait in the car after my lessons, sometimes for a long time. And Dad, he didn't know. He's been really good to both of us, and he didn't deserve what happened." Brandy's face went pale. My heart was pounding, both with pride and sorrow for Lucas. Judge Thompson leaned forward, his expression softening. "Thank you for telling us, Lucas. That took a lot of courage." The room was silent as the judge took a moment to consider Lucas's words. Then, he turned his attention back to the matter at hand. "In light of this new information, and considering all financial factors, I am ruling that there will be no alimony paid to Brandy. The primary reason for the dissolution of this marriage has been made clear, and it significantly impacts the financial decisions of this court." I felt a wave of relief, mixed with a profound sadness for the family life we had lost. Lucas's bravery in speaking the truth had been pivotal. As we left the courtroom, I put my arm around Lucas, filled with a bittersweet sense of closure and a determination to build a brighter, more honest future for both of us. As we left the courtroom, I couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. The pain of the betrayal still lingered, but there was also a sense of closure. Lucas had shown a maturity beyond his years, and I knew then that despite the broken pieces of our past, we had a chance to rebuild, stronger and more honest than before. I guess we can say that in this case, the only thing the tutor successfully helped multiply was the family drama. Talk about a lesson in unintended consequences. Anyways, let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. When you subscribe, be sure to click the notification bell. Click here for more Tangled threads.